Hey, my name is Elliot and welcome to the Retro Future. Today I'm going to be attempting to repair this, a new Nintendo 3DS XL. It was sent in by a viewer and it's an absolute nightmare of a job, but I'm always up for a challenge. I don't normally do repairs for other people, just FYI, but I'm going to give this one a go. I have done this before, and all I remember from it is that it was incredibly stressful. And this one was no different. Now the screens are broken, and I can't fix those. You have to replace them. They're quite expensive. A very kind viewer donated the money to me to fix this for the lad, whose name, by the way, was Michael. The lad's name was Michael, not the person who sent me the money. They're going to remain anonymous, but massive thank you to them. That is unbelievably kind. They also kind of felt touched by the story of Michael's 3DS, and they wanted to send me the money. If you want to watch this PO Box video where I opened this, check that out in the card, and you can see for yourself. So we're inside the 3DS. All I've done so far is removed a bunch of screws, lifted up the ribbon cables for the shoulder buttons, and now I'm removing everything from the inside. We're going to start by lifting out this joystick, the first thing to remove. One thing I do really like about Nintendo's approach to this is that things inside are modular, which means that if you break something, for example, the joystick gets a lot of use and starts drifting, you can just replace the whole module. If the cartridge slot gets damaged from a game being put in incorrectly or dust and debris just destroying the inside, you can replace that. If the microphone gets clogged up and starts sounding bad, I don't know why that would ever happen, but you could also replace that. And like we're doing in this video, you can replace the screens. So that is the motherboard out. Now let's go ahead and remove the cartridge connector. I really like how this thing connects, that small little flex ribbon cable with the small PCB on the end of it. That is just a beautiful little thing. And then there's a separate PCB for the D-pad, which really blows my mind. I do not understand why they did that and didn't just put it on the back of the cartridge connector board. It seems quite unnecessary, but I love Nintendo's over-engineering. It is just so Nintendo. So after we've removed that, we can then pry out the screen. You have to be really careful with this. There's lots of adhesive holding it down, and you're actually pulling up two separate things. You're pulling up the screen and the digitizer. The screen itself has to be removed from the digitizer. We can then lift up all of these screw covers from the front of the top half, and we can then remove the screws. You have to be really delicate with those little rubber pieces because you can damage them very easily. The top of the back half then slides upwards and lifts off. Don't pry it up, you'll break all of the little small latches and then it won't close properly ever again. You then need to remove the hinge, which is hidden underneath the LED tube section, and then slide that little hinge through, which has to be done when the shell is open. After that, we can then start feeding ribbon cables through. Honestly, it only goes downhill from here. This so far has not been too bad, but they are an absolute nightmare to work on. So then we can pry out the top screen and then feed the ribbon cables through that small little hinge. Obviously this thing has to fold and it's not done by magic. There are small ribbon cables that are hidden away in that hinge, which bend round in every which way and then fold and unfold when you open and close the DS. So there's the two screens removed. Then I ordered some more. I also thought I damaged the top camera, so I ordered another one of those as well. And the first thing we're going to do is remove the screen bezel from the top of the old screen. We also then need to lift off the adhesive and stick that down on the new screen, which I discovered at this point was not for the new Nintendo 3DS XL. It was for the old one. So then a week went by and here's the replacement. We're then going to stick that adhesive down. I then sat the top screen shell piece over the screen and then put the bezel on so that I knew that was perfectly aligned. I pressed it all down into place, gave it a little breath and a wipe, and there it was. I then put the wrong camera module into place, also in the incorrect order. All of these things I learnt my mistakes the hard way from. And then we're going to set down the small little pieces which go in front of the speaker and connect up the new screen with more ribbon cables. And you know how much I love ribbon cables. We can then bend that over and screw this small little board down into place. After that is the worst part of the entire thing, getting the ribbon cables through that opening. I've made it look quite simple here, but I spent a very long time doing this and said every curse word that I know. You have to feed that small little metal tube over as well, which is like a shield to protect it, and then pull everything through and hope that you haven't damaged it. And at this point, I had the ribbon cables in the wrong order. And I don't show you, but I then have to take it all apart again and do it again. And it was absolutely horrible. The top half of the shell can then go on, and we can finally get to the bottom half. The safe half, as I like to call it. Not the fun half, none of this is fun, but the safe half. Less things can go wrong. I'm going to give it all a wipe now because the corners and edges would have had a bunch of built up grime that we couldn't have accessed when it was in the shell, and we can set down the screen into place, making sure that that home button PCB is in as well. We can then connect up the ribbon cables and start connecting all of the other ribbon cables, and then put some screws into place, and I'm going to stop talking so that you can enjoy this bit. Several hours later, I can then put the back of the shell onto the 3DS. I'll close it up with the final screws, and honestly at this point, I was just so relieved. This really looked a lot easier than it was. It took me a few days to do it, a few weeks to get the right parts, and many hours to actually complete the job. It was just a very painful ordeal. I'm really happy with the final result. I hope Michael is too. There is going to be a message that I'll show on the screen at the end that he sent. And that's pretty much it for this video. Yes, to all of the people who've been watching my channel for a while, that one is for you. Subscribe, please.